Well, I can answer that for Chris. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me,
Thank you, Mr. President.
it will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me.
Influence, move with a practiced grin, shaking hands with the lights that dim. The White House walls heard his claim to fame, but the shadows whispered a different name. Oh, am I false? So what's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. You played the game but lost your way. Now the world sees the price you pay. Pretending blind to the cries at home, while the streets of SA ache and moan. Right, the man with the golden hue, but the deal fell flat and the lies broke through. Oh, am I fool? So what's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. You played the game but lost your way. Now the world sees the price you pay. The mask came off. No suits, no ties, just shadows aloft. The past screams loud from the buried ground. Now the silence breaks with a deafening sound. Oh, am I fool? So what's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. You played the game but lost your way. Now the world sees the price you pay. What's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. The horrors rise from a nation torn. Whispers turn to cries of scorn. History's weight won't stay concealed. Every wound must one day heal. Oh, am I fool? So what's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. You played the game but lost your way. Now the world sees the price you pay. What's the cost? Truth uncovered, bridges crossed. You pay.
And they're doing precisely what we said we as South Africans should not do. We should stop running to other countries. We should discuss our own problems here.
The sun rose slow on a broken town. Factories closed, machines shut down. Promises made, but none were kept. Dreams turned to dust while the people wept. 90 days of fleeting chance, a lifeline lost in a reckless dance. The clock ran out, now it's too late. Unemployment's the cruelest fate. The tariffs came, they hit like a storm. Families braced to keep their homes warm. A pause was given, a moment to act, but the time was wasted, that's a hard fact. 90 days of fleeting chance, a lifeline lost in a reckless dance. The clock ran out, now it's too late. Unemployment's the cruelest fate. Leaders spoke with words so grand, but their hollow deeds we can't withstand. The people begged, the people cried. Now hope's a stranger on this side. Misery's knocking, poverty's near, a future clouded by doubt and fear. If only they'd fought to make things right, we wouldn't be lost in this endless night.
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hello, folks. Welcome back on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. Welcome to all the Neanderthals, canines, right-wing podcasters, and any car guards out there. I hope you're all doing well. Pleasure to have you back with us once again for the broadcast. I ask you once again, please, if you're a subscriber to the channel, be sure that when you subscribe to the channel, you hit the drop-down button and you select all notifications. A lot of people complaining they're not getting notifications and they haven't selected all notifications. Some of you have, and you find yourself being unsubscribed. It's not by a moderator. It's not by me. We have no control over that. YouTube does that. So please, if you like the content, just make sure that you're subscribed. By the way, I also am puzzled by people who say they never know when I'm going live. I mean, that's nonsensical. I go live every single day at 6 p.m. South Africa time, regardless of what time it is in America, regardless of what I'm doing, 7 days a week, unless I happen to be traveling or some event interferes. People know this. It's not, and even when I have an event that interferes, I go out of my way to try to make an effort to actually go online. So it's nonsensical. You should know that at a minimum is every day. That's like clockwork, almost without fail. So there you go, folks. You can find us. Anyway, Trump is speaking to the cabinet live. Okay, let me go and see what's going on there and see if we can pull that up. Trump, see if that's even be carried by the White House. Okay. White House. Okay, there it is. Okay, YouTube's got it. Yeah, he's talking to Cabinet Live. Let's get that up here.
That'll get the hell out of here. But they were right in the most dangerous.
We'll get to the news afterwards.
World, and they took those big, beautiful, very fast. They're unbelievable planes. I mean, they become really beautiful works of art.
This was unexpected.
They sort of were cool, but now they look better than just cool, don't they? Huh? But they dropped the loads, and literally they would hit. If you look at this table from here to there, they had a half a refrigerator door is the way to best explain it. Take a refrigerator door, average size, cut it in half. That was their target. They hit every single one. Then we had 30 missiles, Tomahawk, shot from submarines 300 miles away. Every one of them hit their target. It was a perfect mission.
This is old news, President Trump.
Almost
Talk about the tariffs.
37 hours. Every plane worked perfectly. The mechanics were here too. I said, you got to get the mechanics here. We didn't have any problems. If you remember, they had a lot of problems with the helicopters, but they did fly through a dust storm, which they shouldn't have done. Sometimes you say, let's go back and try it on a nicer day. Dust and sand don't work well with helicopters if you know much about helicopters. But that was a horrible embarrassment to us. Then we had Afghanistan, which I think was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, and we would have gotten out. I was the one that got him down. I would have kept Bagram, the big air base, which right now is controlled by China, one among the most powerful runways in the world, thick with concrete and steel. Anything could land, and right now they were 1 hour away
Tulsi
from where
Gabbard's
China
at the
makes
table.
its nuclear weapons. I was keeping it. Outside of that, we were leaving, and I would have been out faster than them, but we would have gotten out with strength and dignity. Instead, that was the most botched up mess I've ever seen. They left all that equipment behind, and every year they have a parade running down some third-rate street with the equipment. You know, it's supposed to be Fifth Avenue. It doesn't work. But with all that equipment that they left, they should have taken every ounce of it.
If you're curious about the volume, I can't turn it any higher. I'll make that clear right now. This is the feed. That's as high as it gets. You have to turn your volume up.
I remember one time, sir, we're better off leaving the equipment. Why? Well, it's cheaper. I said, cheaper? You mean it's cheaper to leave a $150 million airplane rather than flying it into Pakistan or India or someplace, or just flying it straight home? It's cheap. Yes, sir. That's when I knew he was an idiot. Didn't take long to figure that one out. But
You can do
they left all that equipment. But
PayPal,
they left
Ludwig.
their dignity behind. It was the most embarrassing moment, in my opinion, in the history of our country. Not that we got out. We should have not been there. But that we got out the way we got out, with great embarrassment and death. You had 13 young people. I've gotten to know their families very well. But you had hundreds of people killed that nobody talks about. Yet the other side, many people were killed. Many people are walking around with no legs, no arms from that whole thing. They left from the wrong airport. They should have left from Bagram, because Bagram was a big base with hundreds of miles of fencing and territory around it. Nobody would be able to get near it, and they left. So we've done a great job, and I think people are really starting to see it. They're starting to appreciate it. Pete's done fantastically. That mission was a work of art. And I have spoken to some of our perceived, I don't know if they're enemies, but they're perceived as being potential enemies. And they essentially said the same thing, very impressive. There wasn't a thing that we didn't lose an engine. We didn't lose, they landed and they were cheered. But the sad thing was they were cheered, and one of the pilots said, we were a little concerned because when we got out, we were told that on television they were reporting that we may have missed our targets. Sir, we hit every target. That's what I do for a living. We hit every target. In fact, when the bombs hit, a yellow haze came over the horizon that I've never seen before. It just lit up the whole horizon, brighter than the sun. It was like looking into the sun. He goes, we hit our target, because you know what that was exploding. And but they were a little downbeat because they listened to that fake CNN reporting and the fake New York Times. They worked together to try and say that it wasn't perfect. They couldn't say what they missed. All they could say is, maybe it wasn't perfect. And you ought to fire that reporter immediately. You should fire her. Real fake. And so I just want to congratulate those pilots. And a lot of people don't like bringing things like that up. I do. I always like confronting, because otherwise the public doesn't know that you're a bunch of crooked people. But they know, they've learned, and the media has to straighten out their act. The media is down to 17% approval. You got to do a little better than that. It's important for the country that you do better. I think they ought to make a lot of changes. I think changes are going to be made to the media, but it's hard to have a really successful country if you have a corrupt media, and we really have a corrupt media. And nobody really knows why. I mean, why would you want to have open borders and criminals pouring into our country? Why would you want to have men playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone? You'll have to figure that out. But some of you don't. I mean, I'm looking at some people, they love the country, but I look at other people and they can't. But we were really proud of our military. It was, and the people that maybe don't like us or want to play games with us, because I think that had you not had the situation in Afghanistan, I don't think Putin would have gone in. I think when Putin looked at how stupid and incompetent that operation was, he said, wow, this might be a chance. And we're dealing with him now too. We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week, and I'm not happy with Putin. Okay, Any questions? Yes.
Yes, sir. You just said that you're not happy with Vladimir Putin. Is there anything that you plan to do to act on that feeling of
I
unhappiness?
wouldn't be telling you. Don't we want to have a little surprise? You know, one of the things we did with the attack is that, and you asked that question. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm in a rude because I'm looking at some of these crooked people up here, so I'm rude. But your question was asked very nicely. But one of the things we did is we went over every fact. We wanted to get every fact straight. We wanted to have the distance straight, the number of pilots straight. Everything had to be correct because we want to be. This was a very important mission. If we failed on this mission, it was beyond the war that obviously we had with Iran and Israel, and a lot of hatred, a lot of years and years of hatred, centuries of hatred. People have never seen anything like it. So we wanted to be correct with all our facts. So what I was doing is just asking. It would be great if the media would be correct with their facts. That's all we ask for. So go ahead. So finish it up.
Oh yes. Just returning back to Russia. If there's anything that you would signal about your displeasure with them.
Well, look. I'm very unhappy with them. There's no reason for this. It's turned out to be tougher, but it's only tougher. And I will say the Ukrainians were brave, but we gave them the best equipment ever made. We gave them the anti-tank busters that knocked out tanks. I mean, you just aim them in the direction of the tank and the tank is gone. We gave them missiles.
Are you guys bored? I'm bored.
And the greatest. They were able to
Exactly.
shoot down
This
a
is
lot of
boring.
things that would have normally
I'll give it a
wiped
couple
out.
more minutes to see if anything
Probably
substance
would have
comes
been
of
a
it.
very quick war. It would have been a war that lasted 3-4 days, but they had the benefit of unbelievable equipment. And Europe gave them to. We gave them far more because Biden shouldn't have done that. He should have equalized. And we should have given them the same, or we should have given actually less than Europe. It affects Europe much more than us, but we're in there for over $300 billion. Europe's in there for over $100 billion, but still, Europe gave a lot. And I will say this, the Ukrainians, whether you think it's unfair that we gave all that money or not, they were very brave because somebody had to operate that stuff. And a lot of people I know wouldn't be operating it. They wouldn't have the courage to do it. So they fought very bravely. But we gave them the
All right, he's just rehashing things he always says, so that's not really any value. So let's get to our news for the day. Excuse me. I'd hoped he'd be talking about the tariffs, but he didn't. So anyway, I went there because someone mentioned it, but it was very boring. I don't know about you guys, but I was bored. Yes, very boring. All right, well, here's something more interesting. I got my water bill, which comes quarterly, and we here where I live at have a co-op. It's not government owned. It's not. It's private, but we're a co-op. Okay, and so that's how we get our water. They charge me for the water, they charge me for the sewer, and then they charge me a base charge for the sewer. Even if I don't discharge 1 milliliter of water, I get charged $60 per billing period. $60, just because. That's a surcharge they put on there that, to my mind, has no justification whatsoever. So $60 times 18 Rand, that cost me 1,080 Rand per quarter. That's 4,000 Rand per year. Whether I use water or not, I have to pay that. So my bill was $210, which is 3,800 Rand. And in a month, I used very little water. Or in 3 months, excuse me. 3 months, excuse me. April to June. Yep, I used a little over 1,000 gallons a month. And that's for laundry, that's for cooking, that's for everything. That cost me 3,700 or 3,800 Rand. That's the water bill and the electric bill. The good news, electric bills, I'm not really paying much of anything because the solar panels are reducing much of that cost, but I have to pay the solar panel cost, so it's a wash. But yeah, then there's the cable and there's all the other stuff. So don't cry for me, Argentina. I'm just making a point here. So this month I'm at 297 kilowatts. That's pretty good for just 7 days in. 300 times 4, it's 1,200. It'd be one of my best months if it continues. But so far, in the lifetime of these panels since November of 2023, I've got 15 megawatts of power delivered. It's cheaper than yours. Okay. 600 Rand per month. Okay. So that's higher than mine. Yep, that's higher than mine. Well, like I said, it's a co-op. It's not a for-profit organization. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. I just started sharing my water bill with you because I know people are always curious about the cost of things here in the States. If you live on a farm and you have your own well or cistern, then you get your own water. You don't have to worry about paying people for water. Yep, and that's how it was when I grew up living on a farm. We had our own source of water. Need to shower more often. Do I really? Maybe I take quick showers. Cause the size of my stand. It's like 4 times. Wow. How is the water quality? Well, Rudy, that is a silly question. Not a stupid question, but a silly question. The water quality on a country the size of a continent varies remarkably. Flint, Michigan, poor quality. Nome, Alaska, pretty good. How's the water quality where I'm at? It's not great. It's heavily mineralized. It's natural water. They don't treat it. They just treat it for bacteria, but they don't treat it to do reverse osmosis to remove the minerals. So it's got a lot of calc in it, and it clogs up the pipes. It clogs up the shower heads. I've had to replace shower heads. Then the shuttlecock valve that's inside the pipe, I had to have a plumber come replace that. I had to turn off my water because it wouldn't shut off. It just snapped in place and kept the shower coming out a few years ago. Yeah, the water is very hard. I don't drink the water here. I haven't drank water from a source since I left the farm in 1982. If I drink any water, it's bottled water. 8,000 Rand this month. Chris said that's insane. That in 1 month, 8,000 Rand? Oof, I'm going to stop complaining about my water bill. But you have to understand, folks, I grew up not paying for water. Why should I pay for something that's there free? Yep. A lot of calc too, yeah. Our water is free, electricity, 3-phase, and average. Oh, that's, yeah, borehole. There you go, zombie. Good stuff. Yeah, that high calc water will give you kidney stones or gallstones. That's why I don't drink that stuff. Yep. It's around $1,500 a month. Well, that's crazy. 6,000, you guys, man. $2,000 per month for electricity and water. That's not bad. $2,000 a month. That's not bad at all. It's a little over $100. 2,000 Rand divided by 18 is just $111. That's cheap. 2,900. Yeah, everybody's got varying prices there. All right, folks, enough of the commiserating about our bills. Let's get to some of the news. 30% tariffs are the order of the day. And the South African media is largely ignoring it. Last night, Ramaphosa, his spokesman, Vincent Mangweni, had a response. And their answer is, well, these are not really fair. Somebody said Davi Root commented earlier. I saw something from Davi Root, a video he did on Truth Report, but I didn't see what he said in the local radio station. I did say Davi said that it's not going to have a big impact on South Africa's economy. Then he kind of backpedaled and said, well, the economy is growing at 0.8%, and this could be 0.2 to 0.3%, so it could have a big impact. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to have a big impact on South Africa's economy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to differ with learned colleagues, but it's going to have a big impact on South Africa. And also, there isn't already a 30% tariff on South Africa. That's nonsense, or 35%. It's only 10% right now. And it was nothing in January. So you've gone from nothing in January to 30% suspended immediately. So basically nothing to 10, and from 10 now to 30%, and possibly 40% come August 1st. We'll see. Yes, Don Steenhuisen is making out as if he's concerned and it's urgent to discuss tariffs. Well, he wasn't urgent and concerned about it in April when the tariffs were applied. He wasn't urgent and concerned about it in May when he went to the White House. He wasn't urgent and concerned about it in June. And now it's July. He's urgent and concerned about it. It's too late. Our closest trading partners, Japan and South Korea, have been negotiating a trade deal since April 4th. They couldn't reach an agreement. April, May, June. Now we're into July. 3 months, we're in the 4th month of those countries that have vast amount of trade with the United States, neither of whom has done anything to harm our geopolitical interests, neither of whom hurts the United States with our national interest, unlike the ANC in South Africa. So we're inclined to cooperate with Japan and with South Korea, but neither one of them can reach a trade agreement with the United States. How is South Africa, which has made no genuine effort to make a trade agreement with the United States, no legitimate effort, sending a deputy minister to the U.S.-Africa Trade Summit in Luanda 3 months after this stuff was imposed, is not a genuine effort in asking for an extension. Waiting 6 weeks to send a representative, and it's the president who goes there and insults the president of the United States in the Oval Office and makes him wait 30 minutes is not a genuine effort. That is the extent of what they've done. That's not genuine. So they've gone from that to suddenly the agriculture minister is concerned about this in Parliament, and you've got 3 weeks. Nothing is going to come of this. Nothing. I would happily eat my words. I don't want to see South Africans suffer tariffs. I know a lot of South Africans want the tariffs to come so the ANC suffers, but the ANC won't suffer. The ANC elites will still bleed the economy. They've just got $1.5 billion more they can steal that just came from the IMF and the World Bank. The World Bank just gave them $1.5 billion loan. They're junk bond status, yet the World Bank gave them loan. And then what's the first thing out of their mouth after they get a loan from the World Bank? Ronnie the Mole, we need debt relief. We need debt relief. We need debt relief. That was the first thing that came out of their mouth. We just gave them $1.5 billion. Oh, we need debt relief. The developing world needs debt relief. Spare me. Spare me. 400 likes. Okay, well, people haven't hit it yet. They charge us a fee of a percentage for water usage to dispose the water, irrespective of whether I use the water. Yeah, well, I'm with you on that one. Who said that? That's what I'm saying. So that was Karen, yeah. So I pay for the sewage. Okay, that's what actually goes down the pipe. Okay, I pay a fee for that. That was $57. And I pay a fee just to have a connection to the sewage line. That's ridiculous. Because if the sewage line is broken, they don't pay for it. I have to pay for that. I have to have insurance to cover if the line breaks. So if my sewage line breaks from here to the community connection, I have to pay for it, not the utility. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, Ramaphosa is looking for a butt whipping. Whoops, there we go. Trump's 30% tariff in South Africa based on inaccurate data. This is so they're not covering the tariff story. The media is covering Ramaphosa's response to it. And this is from Victoria O'Regan. And she reports what Mangwenya said last night, that this is based on unfair things. Unfair things. Well, it's nonsense. The South African government is lying to its population, and they're misleading you and leading you into a dark, dark corner. Here's the only news story of any substance that I found today in any South African media. Business Live, Business Tech, My Broadband, Mail and Guardian, IOL, Cockprot 24, and Times Live, all those publications I went to, and the only story of any interest, of any value, was above the fold, and this even was above the fold, it was on the business page, is a story about South Africa's automobile industry, what's going to happen to them. The only one. The rest of South Africa's media is completely ignoring this. President Trump's made good on his recent threats to slap South Africa with 30% tariffs. U.S. is second biggest trading partner. But how come these authors never mention it's the most important trading partner? In fact, we'll do everything possible to get approvals quickly, professionally, and routinely, is what Trump said if you want to manufacture in America. Ramaphosa responded. Look at that face. A scolded schoolboy. Yeah, the automotive industry. Yep. So here they're claiming it's 110,000, but we've previously reported 141,000 people employed directly for cars tied, not in the industry, but tied to U.S. exports, and 320,000 in the entire value chain. I think that's an understatement. I think it's even higher. So that's jobs directly affected by this. Kwanazi has made his accusations and says he has the receipts. He has the WhatsApp messages that implicate the police minister. KwaZulu-Natal Police Chief Commissioner Lieutenant General Nandla Mkwanazi has made explosive allegations against Police Minister Senzo Mkhunu, claiming he has ties to the criminal syndicate and interfered with high-profile investigations. He says he has the WhatsApp messages. Here's one message dated January 1st of this year. This is a message, a WhatsApp extracted from Matatla, the suspect, who purportedly showed communication between the businessman and associate of Minister Mkhunu. I have arranged a meeting for Sabia and the minister. They must have a solution. The task team that came to your house and harassed you has been dissolved. They got the letter Monday. As we speak, they are bringing all dockets to Sabia. Well, there you go. People involved in political assassination are getting free passes because of political influence from the police minister. That's the claim here. That's the claim. Wow. Well, John Steenhuisen says urgent reform is needed. Well, this is a statement that's several years overdue from government. He sees red over the tariffs. Why are you seeing red? While not explicit, Donald Trump's decision to impose a 30% tariff on South Africa's exports to the U.S. will signal the end of the lucrative African Growth and Opportunity Act agreement. Oh, gosh. I don't know how much plainer I can make this. I don't know how much clearer I can make this, ladies and gentlemen. The Africa Growth and Opportunity Act has nothing to do with what Trump is doing. Reciprocal tariffs override AGOA. AGOA is a public law. AGOA will expire on 30 September. There is no effort to renew it or create a new law. Therefore, it's dead. So whether it's explicit, implicit, implied, stated, not stated, AGOA has nothing to do with Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Forget about AGOA. Forget about it. Quit wasting energy and oxygen talking about something that doesn't exist. You might as well be saying, let me introduce you to my pet dodo bird. Oh, they're extinct. So he's stuffed. Honestly, I don't understand is what South African officials that do not understand basic things. Well, we can negotiate. There's room for movement. There's no room for movement. There is room to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement. Absolutely. And you've got till August 1st before the tariffs kick in to stop it potentially. But that's not AGOA. AGOA is gone. AGOA has left the building. There is no AGOA. The 25-year experiment of letting African countries take advantage of America's economy out of the generosity of our hearts, hoping it would improve governance, has proven to be an epic failure. Only a handful of countries took serious advantage of it. One of them was South Africa. And instead of improving governance in South Africa, the ANC has made it worse. They persecute their minorities, coloreds, Indians, whites. Crime is out of control. Education standards have fallen to 30%. Healthcare is in the crapper. Instead of improving South Africa, the ANC under AGOA has pocketed the money and allowed their country to fail. That was not the purpose of AGOA. AGOA has moved on. Attention Terminal 6. AGOA is departing on Flight 727 back to Washington, D.C. ununited. It's gone. It's gone. Wow. I don't know how many times I'm going to talk about this. He expressed his concern over AGOA, which gives South Africa duty-free access to the U.S. market. While not explicit, the announcement would signal the end of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. No, the announcement has nothing to do with it. AGOA was over before reciprocal tariffs. Oh my gosh, it's like talking to trees. Hello? Not answering me. Anyway, look, I can't just blame Steenhuisen. This is representatives who came to the States recently representing other groups. People who came representing other groups said the same thing. They are not listening. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Don't listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Listen, please. Please. You screwed the pooch. Your chance to influence AGOA was 18 months ago when Biden was president. You should have had lobbyists here pushing congressmen to vote for this thing, to bring it to the floor. But you didn't. Because you've gotten fat and lazy and accustomed to getting a free pass to enter the U.S. market. All 38 of these African countries, free pass. Countries that have no business in it, like Gabon, I don't think they're still in it. But it's gone. It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. Let go. Thank you for the super chat, Janine. 14 rand. It's gone. I don't know what to say, folks. I really don't know what to say. It's just, it beggars imagination. Just shows you some of these people obviously aren't watching my videos because I've only made it clear 1,000 million billion times. Well, Business Tech said Ramaphosa is staggering from crisis to crisis. You think? You think? Of course he is, because he's not a leader. He's not a leader. He's a poser. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is lurching from one crisis to another. A trip to Brazil to meet with fellow BRICS heads of state was interrupted Sunday by explosive allegations against a key political ally. Top police commissioner said a cabinet minister from the president's party sabotaged probes into political assassinations. In the latest challenge to the administration that Ramaphosa formed last year after his African National Congress lost its majority in parliament for the first time in 3 decades, forcing him into a coalition with the business-friendly Democratic Alliance and other small powers, they have been fighting ever since, including the DA debating a potential vote of no confidence. Well, the rand is weaker against the dollar. The rand is weaker against the dollar. And we've got Ramaphosa's final term is not looking so pretty here. Yeah, he's just pivoting from crisis to crisis with no answer to any of them. Yes, in fact, a lot of South Africans have never heard of AGOA. They still think it's called ALGOA, which is a place and a radio station. It is not a trade deal. ALGOA is not what it is. It's AGOA. And it's not the African free trade agreement. It's the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, not the African. It's not African. You don't own it. I saw again in mainstream reporting in South Africa again today, the African Growth. It's not the African Growth and Opportunity Act. It's the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. It is not African. It is American. Ugh. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Times carrying a story about the torture conditions under SAPS. What's going on here? A government led by freedom fighters who helped liberate the country. No, they didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, let's dispel this fairy tale right now. The ANC did not liberate South Africa. No. Umkhonto we Sizwe did not liberate South Africa. The Pan-African Congress did not liberate South Africa. All of these groups had an impact on playing a role in part in convincing the National Party to give up. But the reason apartheid ended is because it was unsustainable, economically, morally, politically, and the Cold War ended, which was the final nail in the coffin. So the ANC did not liberate South Africa. They weren't freedom fighters. They murdered more of their own people in Quattro than they killed South Africans in combat. They were not liberators. They're posers. Now overseeing a police force accused of staggering abuses. During the worst days of apartheid, South Africa's white-led police force terrorized black people with a brutal interrogation tactic that involved suffocating them, often with plastic bags. After apartheid, South Africa adopted a constitution that explicitly outlawed such torture and signed international treaties committed to prevent it. But a New York Times analysis of government data has found that 3 decades after apartheid, the police in South Africa continued to use the same suffocation method known as tubing when interrogating suspects. Of course, the police are overwhelmingly led by black South Africans, not by whites. From 2012 to 2023, an average of 3 people per week filed complaints that the police had tubed them during interrogations. Wow. I'm really shocked because it brings back very, very, very bad memories, said Kulu Mbata, a veteran of the Liberation Army. The leadership of the ANC, when they came to power, made it clear no soul should be subjected to that. But that's what they do. Innocent Sedabila was accused of stealing a television and taken to a police station south of Joburg. Officers sprayed pepper spray into a plastic bag and wrapped it tightly over his head. He defecated himself as his body writhed. He passed out in a cell and died the next morning of severe blunt force injuries. I always think, what if it was me that died, Mr. Moloko said. 2 officers involved were convicted at a trial in 2020 and sentenced to 18 years in prison for murder and torture, but officers are rarely held accountable. The Times identified 1,700 tubing complaints lodged over 11 years with the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, the government watchdog. In only 1 case did the police dismiss an officer who was later reinstated. Commanders within the South African Police Service and top government officials have repeatedly been warned about the frequent use of torture. But that's what they do. South Africa is among the world's highest murder rates. The frequency of brazen crimes like mass shootings of families or armed robberies in broad daylight has drawn attention. Thank you for the super chat, 14 rand. Main clown in the circus called South Africa. Like mass shootings of families or armed robberies in broad daylight has drawn attention from the likes of President Trump and left many in the country critical of the police. To address criticism, tackle runaway crime, the police established aggressive quotas for things like arrest and seizure of illegal weapons. Under immense pressure to meet those targets, some commanders turned a blind eye to allegations of torture. Says Jeremy Verre, a former South African police official who was fired 4 years ago for publicly criticizing the National Police Commissioner. For the commander, the guy who tortures might be the highest producer of the targets. You're not going to pay attention to whatever rumors there are about that person. Wow. That is damning. That, from the New York Times, the New York Slimes, a leftist propaganda outlet, runs a story, an investigative journalism story about police torture in South Africa. This isn't Fox News. This isn't Joe Rogan. Well, he's not a senator, but this isn't a conservative. This is the New York Times. The New York Times. The New York Times. Wow. Well, I'm not the minister of empty promises, says Gate McKenzie, as he intends to go forward with his idiotic plan to use your tax dollars to fund video assistant replay, instead of letting the private clubs pay for something that supports their private sport. Football, soccer should pay its own way, not be leeches on the taxpayer. I'm not the minister of empty promises. Yeah, well, Mr. Gate McKenzie has confirmed that the video assistant referee will be introduced in the Premier Soccer League for next season with $90 million of funding already secured. This system will be implemented by the South African Football Association in partnership with SuperSport. Why isn't SuperSport and the South African Football Association paying for this? Why is the taxpayer paying $90 million for a boring game that nobody likes? They don't pay for the video replay, the TMO for rugby. Yes, you are correct, Steve Herselman. Funny how this was announced, and then shortly afterwards, his son, who changed his name so that you would know he was his son, bought a soccer club. Yes, of course. Nothing to see there. Nothing to see there. Well, South Africa's biggest medical aid schemes are under fire over this bogus report claiming racism because the people committing the crimes tend to be black. Well, 80% of the population tends to be black. So, gee, all things being equal, more crimes would be committed by people who are black. Therefore, they get plenty of audience. Good Lord. How stupid are these idiots? South Africa's biggest medical aid schemes are under fire for a damning report found evidence of racial discrimination, unfair treatment of black healthcare professionals. What unfair treatment? What unfair treatment? They don't offer that. According to Motsoaledi, 3 of the country's largest medical aid schemes, accounting for 80% of the medical scheme membership, were the focus of the investigation. If you're able to make findings on 80% statistically, it means the other 20% will fall in place. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Who did the other 20% serve? Was it a different community? That's a stupid assumption there. Dr. Motudi has dismissed the allegation that fraud investigations are racially motivated. Unfounded claims of racial bias do not deter us. Corruption is corruption and must be rooted out. 100%, Dr. Motudi. I'm with you 100% there. Kalejo Motudi is all over it. It's not racial. This man knows where the crime is being committed and who's committing the fraud. They're going after it. And the fact that most people committing it are black is the way it should be. Most people are black. Unlike America, where most violent crime is committed by blacks, even though they're just 12% of the population, shouldn't be that way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, academia is opening another campus in South Africa. This is amazing. This institution established by Solidarity, the trade union, is going all over. Private Afrikaans University Academia is one step closer to opening its 3rd full-time campus. The facility's unveiling will take place in the next few months. The Council on Higher Education's Quality Committee recently gave academia conditional approval for its Paarl campus facility located in Breda Street in Esterville. A tender process for the campus establishment is concluded and will be fully completed by 1 October. If all goes according to plan, Academia Paarl campus will be officially unveiled to the media on 15 October and officially open its doors in January, with an initial first-year student intake of 340 students. The campus will feature lecture halls, co-working spaces, 2 cafeterias, a media center, a coffee shop, and an academia merchandise store. It will also have access control and secure parking. The following tertiary qualifications will be on offer: a BS in computer science, 1 in communication journalism, economics and law, financial and management accounting, business management, foundation phase, intermediate phase, whatever that is, and science, politics, philosophy, and economics, LLB. Well, Professor Gavi Dutoy, currently Dean of Academics Faculty, will be the campus head. Well, there you go. How do I apply? I want to go teach there in Paarl. Here's the site of their new Paarl campus. Look at that. In addition, they plan to build a 3.2 billion rand campus in Pretoria in January 2026 to serve 5,000 undergraduates and 2,000 postgraduates. Wow. And the campus will be built in the far east of the city, 8 kilometers from the intersection of Graham Road and Solomon Mlungu Drive. Well, there you go. Once again, win, win, win. Academia is like Trump. They go from win to win. Solidarity is like Trump. They go from win to win to win. Yeah, no, I'm teaching in Paarl, teaching political science. I'd be happy to do that. So the town of South Africa where businesses are being robbed 12 times in 12 months. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our viewers lives in this town, Heckport. Oof. Located in the cradle of humankind, is the target of massive crime, facing a squatter crisis that creating environmental issues and a surge in crime. The Mahales River flows into the Hartbeespoort Dam, passing farms, residential areas, and tourist venues along the way. You're literally transforming and destroying the existing environment. You would have thought people would have had some idea about demographics and sociology. It's been estimated that already 150,000 to 200,000 people are living in informal settlements across 5 squatter camps around Heckport. There's no employment, no facilities. The schools are full. The clinic is a truck that comes once a week. This is a rural area with nothing to offer, and they're dumping thousands of people into it. Wow. Heckport is going to crap. Consequences are being felt. One holiday resort in the area has been robbed 12 times in 12 months. It's enormous crime here. Everyone on the farms is armed, and now we have Zamazamas operating the mountains too. It's a nightmare in heaven. Compound the issue is Mohali City's lack of transparency and accountability. Why are they dumping all these people in Heckport and destroying a rural community? Because they can. Because they can. At least 10 people have been killed in the protest in Kenya now, folks, as the police firing live ammunition at protesters. Police earlier had closed roads leading into the capital to block protesters from rallying in the city center. A police statement released late on Monday said over 560 people were arrested around the country during the protest. The Saba Saba protest, the 7 July protest, are still going on in Kenya on the 8th. South Sudan's Salva Kiir has fired his army chief after just 7 months in the position. No reason was given for the firing of Paul Nang Majok in the announcement late Monday. Majok had been in the post since December. The announcement said Kiir had appointed Dao Auturjong as chief of defense forces. Majok was in charge of the army while fighting rage between the army and the White Army, an ethnic militia largely composed of Nur youths, triggering the country's latest political crisis. Riek Machar, Salva Kiir, South Sudan, a country that doesn't want to exist. While major fires engulfed Cairo's telecommunications hub, crippling phone and internet services across the capital of Egypt. The blaze began on the 7th floor of the historic telephone exchange in downtown Cairo. Videos shared widely on social media showed smoke pouring from the upper floors of the building, visible for several kilometers away. And there it is. The first malaria treatment for newborn babies has been approved for use. So that's not going to scare anybody. Malaria caused 597,000 deaths worldwide in 2023. Most of those were under the age of 5 and in Africa. Children under the age of 5 account for 76% of all malaria deaths, according to the World Health Organization. The first malaria drug for newborn babies and those weighing less than 11 pounds has been approved by Swiss medical authorities in a move that could fill a treatment gap for some of the most vulnerable to the disease. Cortium Baby, also known as Ramet Baby, was developed by the Swiss nonprofit organization Medicines for Malaria Venture in collaboration with the Swiss drug company Novartis. Despite being preventable and treatable, malaria remains a serious global health threat, with 263 million cases and 597,000 deaths worldwide back in 2023. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Interesting. Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump discuss the forced movement of Palestinians out of Gaza. Two leaders tout controversial proposal pushing Palestinians who are being bombed and displaced internally by Israel from Gaza to other countries. Send them to Jordan. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu met with Donald Trump at the White House, and the two leaders repeated their controversial proposal for forcibly transferring Palestinians out of the Strip. Trump and Netanyahu met for dinner in the Blue Room of the White House and has indirect talks in Qatar between Israel and Hamas on the U.S.-backed proposals continue. Well, we'll see what happens there. I'm sure that'll make the ANC very happy. Benjamin Netanyahu has endorsed Trump's plan for Gaza to become a resort. That's what we're talking about. During a dinner, they said it was a brilliant vision. It's called free choice, Netanyahu said. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. They want to give Palestinians a better future. I think we're getting closer to finding several countries. I think this will give them freedom to choose. Well, we'll see if that happens, folks. We will see if that happens. Deeply concerned over India. Press censorship, says X accounts blocked. Elon Musk not happy. Social media platform X says the Indian government ordered it last week to block 2,355 accounts, including 2 Reuters handles. X says it's deeply concerned about ongoing press censorship in India after New Delhi ordered the social media platform to block 2,300 accounts. X restored the Reuters news account in India on Sunday, a day after it said it was asked by the Indian government to suspend it, citing a legal demand. Many other blocked accounts were also restored, with New Delhi denying its role in the takedown. After public outcry, the government requested X to unblock Reuters and Reuters World. Non-compliance risk criminal liability. The Ministry of Electronics Information demanded immediate action within 1 hour without providing justification, required the accounts remain blocked until further notice. That's just crazy. So now India is the censorship capital. Or is that all fake? Was it not real? The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for 2 senior Taliban leaders. The International Criminal Court on Tuesday issued arrest warrants for 2 top Taliban leaders, accusing them of persecuting girls and women in Afghanistan. Akhundzada, the supreme leader of the Taliban, and Haqqani, chief justice of the Taliban, are suspected of ordering, inducing, or soliciting the crime against humanity of persecution against girls and women and other non-conforming, which means transgender. So, President Trump's offer to Vietnam is causing challenges for ASEAN members who can't find unity. You know, look at the Petronas towers there in Malaysia. Vietnam's deal with the U.S. leaves the rest of the bloc's members more vulnerable to direct pressure from Washington. Indeed, it does. U.S.'s biggest Asian allies ready their last trade appeal to prevent 25% tariffs on Japan and South Korea. President Trump's latest salve on the trade gives U.S. allies 3 weeks to achieve what they failed to do in 3 months, persuade U.S. to relax tariffs. So, ladies and gentlemen, if Japan and South Korea aren't able to pull this off in 3 months, what makes you think that South Africa, now at the back of the queue, even if they start today, can pull off negotiated trade agreement in 3 weeks? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Just a silly concept to even think it could be possible. Not even remotely possible. Well, the Trump administration saying new tariff threats leave countries scrambling. That's what people are saying about the Trump administration. Japanese cars near San Francisco there. Over the past 3 months, nations across the world tried to avoid the new tariffs. Some did. Indonesia offered to buy $34 billion in U.S. crops and fuels. Thailand proposed lowering many of its own trade barriers and buying more U.S.-made planes. Japan is ready to buy more liquefied natural gas. But Trump's self-imposed 9 July deadline approached. Those efforts made little difference. He sent the 14 letters out. Yep. So much for that. Thank you, Helen of Troy, for the 14 Rand. Yep. Trump to resume sending weapons to Ukraine. I'm sure this will make a lot of the leftists and Chucky Schumer happy. And, of course, Lindsey Graham. The United States will send additional defensive arms to Moscow. Not to Moscow, because Moscow is hitting Kiev hard. Excuse me. President Trump said Monday U.S. will resume providing Ukraine with arms to help it withstand Russian attacks after months of trying without success to draw Moscow into negotiations. He said they have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard. Now they're getting hit very hard, and we're going to have to send more weapons. Why? Why, President Trump? Why do we have to send weapons to Ukraine? Why? Why are you now following Joe Biden's path and fueling a war? Well, speaking of Moscow, a sacked Russian transport minister was found dead in his car with a gunshot wound. Russian Minister of Transport Roman Starovoit. Russia's sacked transport minister has been found dead in his car outside Moscow with a gunshot wound and principal hypothesis that he took his own life. A presidential decree published earlier Monday gave no reason for the dismissal of Roman Starovoit, a 53-year-old, after barely a year on the job, although political analysts were quick to raise the possibility that he may have been dismissed in connection with an investigation into corruption in the region where he once ran. Wow, there was an investigation of whether $246 million earmarked for fortifying Russia's border with Ukraine was properly spent, or some of it was embezzled. Well, he's dead. Sacked on Monday, dead on Tuesday. Or dead on Monday, actually. The European Union is close to a trade deal with the United States. Support it. Well, let's see what happens. European officials are closing in on an outline of a deal that includes tough concessions for the bloc. Germany and other export-driven economies have advocated a speedy resolution to limit economic damage from U.S. tariffs. Any deal is expected to retain 10% tariffs on most European goods, people familiar with the matter said. We'll see. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot higher for the European Union. Trump says the U.S. will resume weapons sales. I already covered that. Trump extends the federal hiring freeze until October. You can't get a job with the federal government until October. President Trump issued a memorandum on July 7th extending the federal hiring freeze until October 15th while maintaining exemptions for positions related to armed forces and public safety. He initially imposed a hiring freeze in January at the start of the second term. It was later extended through July 15th. He's now ordered another extension as part of an effort to improve efficiency of government agencies. The hiring freeze does not apply to military personnel or positions related to immigration enforcement, national security, or public safety. It also exempted positions as executive office of the president. Marco Rubio has an imposter using an artificial intelligence voice to call high-level officials. An unknown individual contacted at least 5 government officials, including 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress. An imposter pretending to be Secretary of State Marco Rubio contacted foreign ministers, U.S. governor, and member of Congress by sending them voice and text messages that mimic Rubio's voice and writing style using artificial intelligence-powered software, according to a senior U.S. official. U.S. authorities do not know who is behind the string of impersonation attempts, but they believe the culprit is likely attempting to manipulate powerful government officials with the goal of gaining access to information or accounts. Wow. Told you, AI is not your friend. AI is not your friend. 10 people held in connection with that shooting at an ICE office. 10 held in Texas Immigration Detention Center shooting that was planned ambush. 10 people have been arrested on attempted murder charges in connection with a shooting outside a Texas immigration detention center that wounded a police officer where people in black military-style clothing fired at authorities in a planned ambush. The officer was shot in the neck on Friday night, the 4th of July, after reporting to the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado, later released. Before that, the group dressed in black began shooting fireworks, damaging cars and a guard structure, and writing words such as traitor and ice pig. All of that seemed to be designed to draw U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel outside the facility, and it worked. 2 unarmed corrections officers came out of the detention center to speak to the group. At some point, the police officer arrived and was shot by someone who was in the woods. Another assailant who was across the street, nowhere near the corrections officer, shot 20 to 30 rounds at unarmed corrections officers. The group fled. Sheriff's deputy stopped 7 people about 300 yards from where the officer was shot. Some were wearing body armor, some were covered in mud, some were armed, and some had two-way radios. This is insurrection. These people should be charged with insurrection. This is against the authority of the United States. They need to be made an example of. It's time to start using the death penalty to execute traitors. Andrew Yang, this lunatic from the Democratic Party with outrageously stupid ideas, who's incredibly wealthy, not sure why, he has no brain power. Andrew Yang endorses Musk's call to disrupt the U.S. political duopoly with the launch of America Party. The tech entrepreneur sees the third party as a chance to break America's entrenched two-party system. Such efforts have struggled in the past. Yep. A newly announced American Party received an early endorsement from Andrew Yang, the tech entrepreneur and former Democratic presidential candidate who styled himself as a champion to break America's entrenched two-party system. I'm excited for everyone who wants to move on from the duopoly, and I'm happy to give someone a sense of what the path looks like. Well, we don't welcome Andrew Yang. Go back to your hole. Top White House advisor touts President Trump's historic promises made, promises kept. Stephen Miller says, no president in all of American history has done more to fulfill his campaign vows in so short a time. And notice how the just passed BBB delivers on, codifies these exact promises. So here's a list that he claims President Trump has achieved. Seal the border and stop migrant invasion. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. You got a lot of work to do there. Obama had the biggest. End inflation and make America affordable again. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and fundamental freedoms. Prevent World War III. Restore peace in Europe and the Middle East. End weaponization of government against the American people. Stop the migrant crime epidemic. Rebuild our cities. Strengthen and modernize our military. Keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Fight for and protect Social Security. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. Cut federal funding for schools pushing for critical race theory. Keep men out of women's sports. Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe. Secure our elections. Unite our country. I don't think he's achieved all those. Some are a work in progress. Chat seems to be working. Sorry. Chat seems to be working, so it must be on your side. Refresh your page. Well, U.S. measles epidemic, fueled by people who refuse to vaccinate their children and by lunatics who are invading our country, brought into our country, bringing these dangerous pathogens in here, is now becoming a problem in the United States, despite a way to prevent it. U.S. measles cases surged to the highest level in 6 years, 1,277 reported cases of measles as of July 4th. The number of measles cases in the United States reached multi-year high this year. As of July 7th, 1,277 cases. That surpasses the previous record of 1,274 total in 2019. We're only halfway through the year. 790 confirmed cases in Texas, which is the center of the outbreak. Well, gee, I wonder what's going on in Texas. Texas is the epicenter for criminal alien invaders crossing our border. And then we put them in our schools with our children. And they spread around amongst other unvaccinated children. This is what happens when you allow your country to be invaded and you don't uphold standards. That's why we have tuberculosis back in this country when we eliminated it. Soldiers deployed to the Middle East and Africa can now get a combat patch for their recent tours. There are two kinds of soldiers in the Army, those who have deployed to combat theater and those who haven't. One of the most conspicuous ways to make that distinction is the shoulder sleeve insignia for military operations in hostile conditions, better known as the combat patch. Soldiers who deployed to any of 14 countries in the Middle East and Africa between October 2023 and June 2025 can now wear a coveted combat patch on their right shoulder. It signifies a soldier's service in a combat zone with a particular unit. Army Chief of Staff General Randy George last week approved granting combat patches for soldiers who were deployed during the covered time period to Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Emirates Arabs, and Yemen. Also on the list is Djibouti. That's the only place in Africa, Camp Lemonnier. I don't know why. People in Djibouti weren't facing combat, so I'm not really sure why they get to wear a combat patch. Yep. Anyway, so interesting. And there you have it, folks. Is this still going on?
Obama officials is going to Democratic donors. And we're not here saying we want
Trump's
to take
still
money
going.
from a left-wing NGO and
He's still going, man. So it's been an hour. All right, folks, that's the news for today. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done already. We got 728 likes, 1,000 people here. Why not hit the like button? What's that cost?
That was easy.
All right, I'm working my way back up the chat and see if there's anything here that's really interesting. Any address? They are posers. Yep, in the case where it does hit the fan, I can bet the words that will come out of ANC and EFF, the white man has caused our suffering. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Fitting on innovation, they found a dead body in one of the local police stations. They smelled something, smells bad, and found the body. Apparently the person was kicked to death. Gee, many crickets. Okay. General opportunities. Huh? What brand of car is wrong? I don't know. Training camps where they left behind all those fatherless children. They're going to get another 10% bricks as well. I think so. It was exceptionally violent what happened against IFP supporters and leaders. Yep. I've forgotten about the People's War, haven't they? Am I being stupid? But I don't think Cyril should have returned immediately from Brazil with the allegations of the police thing. He was not supposed to sort it. I don't think it matters where Cyril's at. He lives in a dream world. It's partly why an acquaintance left the police force, had to use their private vehicles and cell phones to investigate cases with zero compensation. Yep. SAPS doesn't have working vehicles. And a game that they're absolutely useless at, PSL down through levels. Yep, the Premier League pays for the TMO system and everyone hates it because it doesn't work in football. Hey, Fleshin. Well, they're going to put it in South Africa and it's going to be paid for by taxpayers. At least they're doing something for the language. What's that? Who are you talking about? Academia. Leaving the police in 3 months after 39 years. Had enough of the corruption. I'm with you, Ben. I'm with you. You see, Afrikaners can build South Africa. Of course they can build South Africa. Who said they couldn't? They built it once before. If you want something, do it yourself. Yep. Well, it's self-bestow. Self-bestow. All the education in South Africa won't fix the problems. Yep, if there's no jobs. They spend our tax money like they want because they want to show who else is in charge, defining the king and the tax slave. Yeah, it's a power play, I agree. It's the difference between Afrikaners and ANC. Afrikaners build and the ANC expropriate. Yep. I get notified when Chris goes live. I never miss a live. Well, Charlene, thank you. I'm glad you do get notified. That's pretty cool. I don't know why Botswana got a 37% tariff. Lotso, are you from Otsihilijan? Hey, Lotso Dilaweo. I have no idea why they got a 37% tariff. Botswana was our closest ally in Africa, but with Eric Masisi in office, that relationship was ruptured. Still a good relationship, but it's not the close relationship it was under all the previous presidents from the BDP. There's a lot of corruption in South Africa, or not in South Africa, in South Africa, in Botswana. Unfortunately, I don't know why they got hit with that. That's I didn't look to see. What happened to Carl? Oh, okay, you can prove if you're a victim. What's up with the cowboy hats? We have a couple of hat lovers. I have no cowboy hats. What are you talking about? There's no cowboy hat here. Oh, what else we got here in the chat? So I can take it. We do know if they have one for big people. What? What are you guys talking about, man? I joined the stream late. I'm not sure if you touched on this, but what's your take? Well, you can catch my take on Pumlani Majozi's broadcast. He interviewed me this morning. I also shared it earlier, but my take on it is it's... I didn't go quite in depth, is that it's very damning for South Africa, but it doesn't matter. I mean, Zandile Gumeda, 168 counts of corruption, years later, still there. She was appointed to the provincial legislature of KZN after she was forced to resign as the mayor of eThekwini. What kind of punishment is that? Ace Magashule, for years, served in positions. Zweli Mkhize, still sitting in parliament, despite the fact that the Hawks found evidence that he's corrupt. Cyril Ramaphosa, Pala. The list goes on and on. Nothing will happen to Senzo Mkuno. Nothing. He might be forced to resign, but he'll still stay in parliament. Nothing will change. Nothing will change. Yep. We still see that Zweli Mkhize is a member of the NEC. It's ridiculous. Nothing's going to happen. They can move to Israel. Hey, Colonel, sent you a WhatsApp to implement the apartheid tax. Okay, WhatsApp, apartheid tax. I got a lot of messages since I went live. Okay. Okay. Hang on a second. Don't see that. I don't see that. You sent me a WhatsApp. I don't see anything. I don't see anything from you. Sorry, I'll look for it later. Okay. Friend died of malaria when he returned from Zambia to renew his past. Did he have cerebral malaria? That's bad mojo, man. I've been very fortunate in all these decades of traveling throughout Africa, living in malaria zones, to never have gotten it. I don't mess around with it, man. That's a dangerous disease. Thank you for all your hard work, says Carl Johnstone. You're very welcome. Hey, Firefox 40. Blonde Topaz. Wow. Welcome. Thank you for your membership. Francis Ruiz. Hello. 1990, there were 100 years behind us in 2090. Who's 100 years behind you? Changed my name, but those who know me will remember me. Bitter Ender. Carlos Fredo, what's going on? Alan Balade, Helen of Troy. You sent me a super chat telling me you sent it. Okay. No, I still don't see it. I'll oppose the county as black privilege to respond to the tariffs. Yeah, that ain't going to help him. Afghanistan, what about that? Apartheid tax was an article several weeks ago. Yeah, I know. Trump wants to force Russia to the negotiating table since Putin won't listen. He's decided to help Ukraine. Yeah, no, you're right, Charles. That's what he's doing. But I'm still criticizing it. Just let Ukraine collapse and become a colony of Russia, which is what it's destined to be. Oh, no, you didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I'm just being a smartass. You're watching SDP. What's SDP? I'm not opposed to Ukraine defending itself. I'm opposed to the U.S. taxpayer funding a war, killing people. That's what I'm opposed to. Low IQ. I have no problem with Ukraine defending itself, but they can't defend themselves. They've proven that for years. AI is great. No, it's not. It's dangerous. Can someone please point out the trolling part? Hey, Freeman DeVitt, thank you for subscribing. What trolling? What trolling are you doing? Attack on deputies, definitely left-wing, anti-West types. Can someone in the chat answer this question? If the car parts supplier company you work for in Southern has a head office in America, will the tariffs apply? Yep. They will apply. It's not on companies, it's on products coming from South Africa. So it doesn't matter if IBM builds computers in South Africa and they export in the United States, the tariff applies. It doesn't matter. It will affect your company. Yep. And there's a perfect example why I'm so concerned for South Africa. Someone who works for a parts supplier, you're going to be hit with these. South African job market decreased 4% per LinkedIn. Well, 95,000 jobs were lost from last year to this year, so formal jobs. Did the Libertarian Party try and fail? Libertarian Party's never gone anywhere. It's never had more than like a million or so votes in presidential election, and they get very few candidates elected around the country. Lots of parties have tried this. The Reform Party tried and failed. George Wallace's American Independent Party tried and failed. The Bull Moose Party tried and failed. They didn't have the focus that Musk wants to have. Musk says he wants to focus on key House races and key Senate races and try to poach a few seats in each and become the kingmaker in essentially a parliamentary process. That could work, but I suspect that the Republicans and Democrats will work in collusion to ice out any third party that gets seats in Congress and vote together to get rid of them. That would be my expectation. Jeffrey Ford, thank you for your subscription. Okay, the elderly should always be looked after. Okay, the chat freeze? No, it didn't freeze. Okay, but the tariffs aren't the tariffs encourage companies to build in America? Yeah, Cheryl. So if you build your plant in America and make the goods here, then there's no tariffs because you're not importing it. That's the point. But that's not the real reason for the tariffs. The real reason for the tariffs is because the artificial barriers are put in place to prevent our goods and services from entering your market fairly. Export tax may be levied on exports or goods or raw materials and is paid by the exporter. Well, export tax is different than import duty. Yeah, Miguel Fondavesto, you're correct, but there are already plenty of people out there that didn't like jabs to begin with, and we had Hollywood celebrities pushing this narrative for years. I mean, I fail to understand what people are talking about. I have 50 years of immunizations and 7 books full of jabs, and I don't know what people are so freaking out over. Agoa. Hey, Verushka, what's going on? How you doing there? Nicey Boswell, good to see you there. Pete Schmidt, Sandra Yonk. Another theft 30 meters from my house. Good gosh. The bugger off bunny's here. What did he say? My chat just jumped way ahead. Wow. Wow, how far there is. Cost the public more now. They just won't pay 30% more for the product. They'll make their own instead. Yeah, exactly. Jaco Kleinhans. Is that Jaco Kleinhans from Solidarity? Hey. Did you get unsubscribed? Okay. Thank you, Chris. All good night. Thanks, Steve, for being here. People who can't seem to Google for information. Yeah, that's frustrating. Passports will be delayed. Why will passports delay? Hey, Mornay, what's going on? Or when they will blame tariffs on apartheid. Oh, it's just a matter of time. Mark Kenny says, believe it or not, you can get measles from more than once and chickenpox. No, you get chickenpox once, but you get something that comes from chickenpox later on when it's reactivated. Which is very painful. Shingles. Couldn't think for a second there. Shingles. My father had it at 82. Oof, it was terrible. Passports held back so they can check with SARS before issuing them. Why do you have to check with SARS to issue a passport? I know what they're trying to do, but why do you have to do it? There's no real basis to do that. I went with them to see when they're still blocked. Chris Kokomore, yes, there's 10% for any country that adheres to BRICS nations' policies. Well, presumably that includes BRICS, but it wasn't applied yesterday, so I think it'll apply by 1 August. SARS would be the only reason for holding back passports. Okay. So if you owe them taxes, I guess. So I'll say that Pala Pala case has been classified as top secret. I'm not surprised. Okay, so will there be sanctions by the U.S. on certain South rugby Viking? I don't know. That could happen at any time. The Magnitsky Act makes it possible for President Trump to apply sanctions right this minute, but he hasn't done it. He's busy holding a press conference with his cabinet. Let's see if they're still going. Still going?
In the sense that we would run it so good, it would be run so proper, we'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimal, would be much less. And, you know, we're thinking about doing it, to be honest with you. We want a capital that's run flawless.
Talking about D.C. I get they're talking about taking over D.C. maybe. Yeah, we don't know. As far as the legislation, nothing's happening in legislation. You all need to not bank on legislation. I wouldn't count on the Americana Act. I wouldn't count on Ronnie Jackson's bill, and I wouldn't count on the bill introduced in June. I wouldn't count any of those bills getting passed. You're just hoping beyond hope. Okay, Carl, I don't know what you're going on about. You keep going on and on about passports here. I haven't seen anything about 120 South African companies given 7 days to evacuate Kenya. Never heard of that story, Christopher. But Kenya's on fire. The Saba Saba protests are continuing. 10 people have been shot dead by police in protest there that began yesterday. So that happens every year, but this year it's out of control. They want the President Ruto to go. And so the police are not playing around. So maybe that's why it's not safe. People that the Senator has mentioned has also been mentioned in Jacques Paul's books a few years back. I'm not surprised. Nobody confuse us to deny passports. That's against international law. Well, international law doesn't apply, Ruben. You're not subject to international law. You can be denied a passport by your country. Yeah, you can have your passport removed. Criminals have their passports revoked. Countries can revoke a passport. Yep. I don't know at Home Affairs where you want to go. What is going on with passports? What are you all talking about here? I'm catching parts of this conversation. People are going on and on about passports and SARS, and something's going on here. It's an awful lot of chat being devoted to a subject I haven't even broached. Saw an interesting vid on YouTube today about the right to repair within U.S. military forces. A high-ranking officer is denied access to a router on a ship by a contractor. No idea what you're talking about there, Andre. Malaria 3 days after a malaria zone. Never heard of malaria taking out. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, no. Rudolph. No, people get cerebral malaria and die within 24 hours. 24 hours. I saw it happen. European Commission, which is part of the European Union, had their headquarters just up the street from us at Mamba Point in Monrovia. And a 50-year-old, so a few years older than me, a 50-year-old official from there refused to take his malaria medication. He was a stubborn cuss. He got bitten. He fell sick, and 24 hours later was dead from cerebral malaria. It is not something to mess around with. Zelensky is a scumbag of note. I agree. But so is Putin. Yeah, Rudolph, I believe that. So there will be sanctions by the U.S. and certain officials like... No, there's no guarantee of that. No, Rugby Viking, there's no guarantee of that. Don't hold your hat on that. Don't wait for sanctions against... Vote these people out and hope, if you want that to be the case. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen. Sylvester Slee wants to ask a silly question. Sure. Go ahead. Thank you for your awesome program. It says, Andre Mostert, you're welcome. Not mine, the news you did. Do with the hat. Oh, that's Salva Kiir. The South Sudanese fancy themselves as cowboys. They like to wear those hats. Yep, he always wears a hat. If immigration ever needed to know, we have no fear of living. Okay. They showed me. I tried to get an appointment, but you have to go in, which blocked on the site. Possibly allergic to malaria pills SADF issued. Ended up one. I've never heard of anyone having allergic reaction to malaria. I'm not saying that's impossible, Richard. Your DNA may be, your genome may be something that's susceptible to it, but I've never heard of anyone being allergic to malaria medication. It can have side effects, but not an allergic reaction. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but I've never heard of it. I've been dealing with malaria since 40 years, and I've never heard that before. Free State make an appointment online at Boyd Fontaine and applied, was proven 2 weeks. There you go. Well, I've talked to people who've gotten their passports in 3 days, and others have waited 3 months to get it. Imagine when the new budget kicks in, they see how South African refugees kick ass and don't need so much assistance. Hey, Sedgefield, what's going on? Veroshka's thanking the mods. Okay, Business Tech reports, Palo Palo report classified. Oh, that's where it was at, Business Tech. It wasn't there earlier. Let's go see what's going on now, Business Tech. That was not a report on there earlier. I would have reported on it. Eyes itching here. Sorry. Business Tech. Oh, come on. Goodbye, Green Books. Big changes for passports. Reserve Bank. No hassle. Surprise. Big shift. Nope. I don't see that. Let me do a search. Pala Pala. Business Tech. Pala Pala. There it is. That's from March. That story's from March. Are piloted mechs a viable option to use in military application? Piloted mechs. What is a piloted mech? Yeah, who's going to be the first to throw themselves under the bus or throw someone else on the bus? You cannot label someone as a troll just because they say something you do not agree with. I didn't label anybody a troll. What are you talking about? How is two-party system? There is no two-party system, Gerhard Jansa von Führen. There isn't a two-party system. That's a myth. There are plenty of parties, but the de facto two-party system has been around for a century and a half. Well, Roxy Numbera, lots of white people have gotten their passports since February. Lots, thousands. Allergy, okay. Waited 1 month for appointment and got our passports within a week. There you go. Duty calls. Okay, Nikki, take care. Passports in 4 working days. Unfortunately, I can't say the same. Yeah, the birth certificate's proving to be a problem. Passport issue with SARS that you owe tax. They have the right to take your passport away. Yeah, well, I think that's true, friends. I think that is true. Yep. Although in America, if they try that, you'd probably sue. You'd probably take them to court. Mad Max, wow, 140 Rand super chat. I didn't see many of those today. President Ramaphosa pushed back, yeah, third tariff next month, saying that it's based on the act. Yeah, no, I reported that, Mad Max, at the beginning of this program. Yep, and I made a video of that, which I was editing when I went live. I have to finish it. Let me see how far along. Did I finish editing it? Well, actually, I think I uploaded it. Yeah, I did upload it. It's actually up at 30% tariff is a non-story for South Africa's media, and I mentioned that response in there. Yeah, wow. I forgot to... select... this one here is, I loaded it up when we started the program an hour and a half ago. It's been sitting there waiting to go. No issues found. That's good. No issues. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, so I put this thing up earlier. It was politics. What I don't have is a thumbnail for it. So let's see what happens. I've been waiting an hour and a half, so I shouldn't have to wait for the check. Oh, it's checking for the advertising anyway, even though it's been an hour and a half. Matthew, who is Matthew Dixon here? Okay, it's good. Public. Okay, publish. There we go. 2 people today got phone calls. I'm sure more than 2 people got phone calls today. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Yep, I'm sure more people got it than that. Anyway, do a poll on how many people hit the like button. That's a silly poll. Let's do a poll here. How many people did a statement of interest? Okay. This one I'm curious about now. Why is the spell check not able to recognize that word? There you go. Could we do a poll to see how many people? I just blocked it. From what provinces? I don't know. That's there's too many provinces. I don't have many options. You only get 4 options on a poll. Okay, why are you waiting till August to apply? Oh, you need to wait because you need money, Ruben. Okay, gotcha. You don't have the money. Boston Dynamics and all those types seem to be very into a robotic solution for everything. Yep. Lisa Stoltz. Okay. Caitlin, hello. Natasha Pinar. Okay. Could we do a poll? Okay, I just got a call today and told them to phone later. I'm watching. Haha, no, you didn't, Mad Max. Yeah, that's an interesting poll. Yep. We are not passport. What does that mean, Roxy Numera? Can I go get a passport while I wait for a phone call? Yeah. No updates on the refugee program, Jennifer. I did communicate to U.S. officials today an issue related to the refugee program, which I won't share publicly, and got a response back from U.S. officials. So, yep. Anyway. Cool. Anyway, that's what's happening there. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. I'm waiting for people to hit the like button. I find very puzzled how often a lot of people are tuning in for the live streams. Not so many for the prepared videos, although a few of them have done okay. Not great, but okay. So to me, a good video performance with the size of my audience would be 100,000 views. And actually, I'm being generous because I think with 100,000 subscribers, a 200,000 more view video is a good performance. I haven't had 200,000 in a few months. I've had a few 100,000. So please, guys, stop asking a few questions. Go watch the Colonel's videos. Yep. Husband never misses live streams. Thanks for everything. You're welcome, Kim. And now your chat is going to blow up. I haven't seen one yet because my children live with their father. Why is my chat going to blow up, Leo? 880 likes. Okay, that's not bad. Okay. Okay, who is 7? The issue I just said I'm not going to disclose, guys. I'm not going to disclose it, okay? It's not something you need to know, okay? Seems to me it's some form of balkanization. What are you talking about, David? Still waiting my certificate 1 year and 5 months. Yikes. Don't want to split family up. All of us must apply separately, but we work together and stay on the farm. Yeah, the program is moving. I can tell you that much. I know it's moving. By the way, okay, let me tell you guys something here. Okay, first off, people keep sending me emails to unsolicited. If you are sending me an email, unless I've given you instructions otherwise, personally, if you're sending an email to anything other than the email associated with this YouTube account, it will not be answered. I went into my Outlook account, which you know I have because the Outlook is for PayPal. I have that there just for PayPal. That's all I use the account for because I need an account for PayPal and I wanted it separate so I can keep track of it. And I told people that is not a place to send me an email. And what do? People send me emails. People send me emails to all my personal email addresses and they don't get answered. Then they get bent out of shape. This morning, somebody wrote to me on WhatsApp and 2.5 hours later got angry and sent me a note and said, well, I guess you don't want to answer me. I'm like, are you serious? I've been working since 6 o'clock this morning. I haven't had time to urinate, let alone answer your messages. I have 200 plus unanswered WhatsApp messages from this morning alone. I have 3,000 emails in one account, 2,000 other have been addressed, and people. And then I went to my LinkedIn account and I got people writing me back in June. Look, people, if you want to communicate with me, there's one place to do it. And if you want to get bent out of shape because I'm not answering you, that's on you. I've made it clear and I'm doing my best to answer the stuff that's in that email address, which Henzo just put there. All right. But people are sending me stuff all the time. And it's impossible. So, message came through because it was sent. My phone VPN was on sometimes. I have no idea what you're talking about, Will Smurf. So yeah, it's very frustrating when people get upset about things for no reason. So anyway, as I was saying, the PayPal account, that email address, the only thing I do in there, I don't answer it. So if you sent me something to the account to this email address, unless it's money, it's not going to get my attention. Not going to get my attention. James says, yeah, no news publications are secretly watching. Of course they are. Also, I've noticed some people who are getting attention on other platforms have been using my analysis that they never discussed before to explain the situation in South Africa. That was entertaining. I watched a couple of those videos today. Very interesting. Very interesting. So it shows you the influence. I just wish that people would watch my content and see it here first. Urban Homestead volunteers for personal assistant. No, it isn't going to matter. It isn't going to matter. That email address is not to write me emails. If you write me an email there, I came across emails written in November last year I never saw today when I went into to check my PayPal. So if you wrote to me and you think I blew you off or you wanted to contact me, well, you wrote to the wrong email address, okay? I tell people where to write to. And they just ignore it. People think they're clever. Ooh, let's go do a search. Let me see what I can find out. I mean, I'm sure people writing email addresses I had 35 years ago going, oh, we found the Colonel. Nope. Yes, Leo, Mother's Love. That's right. People don't realize that. I bend over backwards. My health is suffering because I'm not, I should have gone and beat on the door of the health clinic and just stood there every day. I'm not waiting until July 17th. Why should I wait 7 weeks to get an appointment with my GP? See me now. I should have done that. And if I wasn't busy doing this, I would have done that. But the clinic is 15 kilometers away. It's a half-hour drive there, half-hour drive back. And I got to stand there and I got to beg. And then it affects this. So I've put it off to my appointment, waited 7 weeks for that appointment. So, I mean, I'm letting other things lapse to try to help you all and try to address your concerns. So the least people can do is not try to be clever and send emails to that email address. That is not for correspondence. That's if you want to send me money. That's the only reason I have that account. I don't like Outlook. Don't like it. I do need an auto pen. That's true. If anyone needs guidance on applying for passport for minor and both parents give consent, but not in the same province. Okay, Rebecca. Thank you for that. Nope, I don't need a secretary. No one's having access to my accounts. People are being unreasonable. You have a life and they need to think. St. Master, they don't think. They don't think. People, I mean, I've gotten so many messages in that the correct email account. People going, well, okay, I watch your videos all the time. I watch them all the time. So if you're one of these people that did this, don't be offended because you're not the only one. Lots of people. Colonel, I love your videos. You're fantastic. Love your advocacy for South Africa. But I have the following questions. I watch your videos all the time. Do I need a passport? Can I go where I want to go in America? How much money do I get from, what do I get? Is there assistance for refugees? How can you say, well, watch my videos all the time and then lie in an email? That's impossible. And then you get hundreds of these emails and people get bent at you. Well, I sent you an email 2 weeks ago. You didn't respond. Well, you asked me 9 questions that I've answered in 1,000 videos. Why don't you just go watch the videos? It's comical. It really is. It's comical. Any economic studies on the tariff increase South Africa that you're aware of? No. Probably the closest has been Davi Root. I don't think he's done anything formal. I sent you an email 15 seconds ago and you still Matthew Dixon. Yeah, well, Matthew, you sent me an email 5 years ago. I haven't answered. So you're welcome, Phoenix. Leaving South Africa regardless and apply for accounting jobs in the Netherlands. Okay, Francois, that's interesting. Be careful, scams. I sent that to Colonel last night. You need to see the whole email. Yeah, that's another thing. I got people sending me stuff all the time. Hey, is this real? Like, and I'm not picking on people, and then I'm not mentioning your name, so don't get offended. But I got a screenshot. Hey, is this number real? What number, dude? There's no number. It's just a screenshot with a name. I don't know what the number is. So I said, I can't answer that question. So that took time. That takes 2-3 minutes of my time to answer that one question. And all that had to be done was send me the phone number. I looked up the phone number. So, yeah, people don't think before they press. They just, I mean, you guys realize, right, that people charge for these services, for the simple things I'm answering, right? You realize they charge a lot of money for this. I'm not charging anybody anything. All I do is get abused. I get called liars by other South African content creators. I get called liars by people that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground who form YouTube groups and WhatsApp groups that talk out their ass. I get people disparaging me who don't know what they're talking about, yet time and time again, my analysis is correct. Spot on, whether it's about tariffs, it's about immigration, it's about macadamia nuts. Somebody complimented me, sent me an email the other day. Colonel Wyatt, how do you know so much about macadamia nuts? I'm in the macadamia nut industry. I saw your video from like 4 years ago. It's amazing. How did you know that? Because I'm a researcher. I'm an analyst, and I'm a good analyst. That's why I knew so much about it. I was once a farmer too. Not a macadamia nut farmer, but farmer. Well, that depends on the Burmese, right? If she's quiet and demure and not troublesome. And we don't want to talk about bums because contrary to the song, I like big butts and I gotta say. No, not really. Anyway, thinking about writing an email, but I didn't get a reply, so I won't bother sending it. You can get a PK. I'm just proud you noticed me. I know you're genuine. Well, thank you, Roxy. Anything you hear wasn't confirmed, Colonel Chris. Well, guys, I mean, I can make mistakes. But certainly not intentional ones. Mopani, best president in U.S. history. Mopani Trust. I'm not one of them. I do watch your videos and laugh when people ask questions in your videos. Well, you should see the emails, Syncmaster. You should see the emails and the WhatsApps. Oh, and I'm further behind on the Telegram if they send me Telegram because I get so many unsolicited things in Telegram. People's stuff gets buried so deep. If you're refugee status, can a future Democratic government vote in and revoke your status? 10 czar. I've answered that question many, many times. This isn't a refugee chat, but I will entertain it. No, they can't. They can't revoke your status. Now, if you have temporary protected status, that can be removed because it's temporary. That's why the Haitians and Venezuelans got to get the F out and go home because it was temporarily granted to them to deal with an emergency, not permanent. Anyway, so, yep. Yeah, but no, they can't take it away. I've covered that 1,000,000 times. Doesn't matter who's in the White House or who runs Congress. They cannot strip you of refugee status unless you defrauded us. You lied. to get refugee status. And that's why I tell people, don't lie. Don't lie, ladies and gentlemen. When you're asked questions, don't lie. And also, an act of omission is a lie, okay? So if you have a conviction for a criminal act and you go in, have you ever had any trouble with any problems? No problems. You need to be honest. Having a criminal record isn't necessarily a bar to immigration, or to refugee status, excuse me. Thank you for 140 Rand. I'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, it isn't necessarily. I had a person approach me in South Africa, said I was falsely convicted of murder. I didn't murder anybody, but they gave me a murder conviction. Another person told me they were convicted and sentenced to prison for 5 years for treason. Well, the U.S. government probably doesn't care about treason in the South African government, so that's probably not going to be a bar. It just depends what happens. So, look, I mean, if you're a murderer, a real murderer, a rapist, a pedo, and you've been convicted of it, that could be a problem. But short of that, most things are probably forgivable. So be honest. Be honest. And Yassine commends me on my patience. Okay. If anything, I'm sure the Pala Pala is not pursued because police minister. Yeah, Pala Pala is not pursued because it's present. Okay, what's the future? What the hell is demure? Demure? Well, look it up. It's French. Nobody actually watches the videos that they say watch your videos all the time. Yeah, exactly, Leo or Lee. That's exactly right. I said Leo or it's Lee. Yeah, exactly right. Well, I watch your videos all the time. I love your channel. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You're not watching my stuff. I answer this stuff all the time. And until a week ago, I would entertain that crap in these conversations, but these aren't refugee conversations, and I did it anyway. Pissed off my viewers. Notice my viewership on lives has gone up since I stopped answering all the refugee questions and did a Sunday session. Yep. Alan says he doesn't answer most people. Alan, I answer most people. I just can't get to all of them. Some of y'all bombard me. Well, they said it was going to rain this afternoon. It sounds like it's raining. Just heard rain hit the side of my window. Erica says people shouldn't take it personally if I don't answer messages immediately. Oh, Erica. Yeah, I don't answer you. You send me links to things, and then 2 days later, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Kettle? This is pot. Excuse me. Bossy Cop is an analyst. What do you analyze? Leanne got passports within a week from application and 5 weeks for the... Well, that's awesome, Leanne. Where are you at? So people can go apply there. Khan says, Colonel, please spend another 5 minutes again to educate Bill about how the process works. It seems 60% understand. Thank you for... What process, Khan? Thank you for the 70 Rand. What process? Passports remain a property of the issuing country, written in all... Yep, exactly. Exactly. They can revoke it at any time. Jacob, Colonel, if you're ever headed to Mississippi, we want to give you a real bri. Mississippi? Is that what MS is? The year after you get your green card, it's permanent residence. Okay. Contrary to their beliefs, there are quiet Burmeises. I'd like to meet them, Julie. 50% of copper tariffs. Not a surprise, Mad Max. Thank you, Death by Video, for subscribing. According to AI, the U.S. government won't send refugee back if they owe a student loan. Owe a student loan to who? To the U.S. government? Simon, you ask a very open question. Okay, first off, why would a refugee be sent back is the first question. Sent back where? And a loan to whom? Stop asking AI questions. AI is garbage in, garbage out. I don't know why people love AI. It's not good. Told you, Colonel, to charge people. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. People do want to be spoon-fed, Pete, and not even do the basic stuff. Sadly, this world is full of NPCs. Yep. Could you do a poll on how many people had one interview at the embassy and hurt? Well, that's a very specific poll on Mar Forster. It sounds like it affects you. All right, so let's close this poll. 459 votes. Okay, start a poll. Have you had an interview Have you had a refugee interview? Okay. This is probably the best poll. Have you had a refugee interview, or have you given an appointment? Nobody knows what you vote, folks. It's anonymous, so you can answer this without any fear. Okay. 76% of the people filled out a statement of interest out of 400 and some votes. Okay, that's not bad. 800 people here. People are afraid to answer the poll like you're being tracked. Nobody can track what you're doing. Relax. Frankly, nobody really cares that much. Nobody cares that much, man. Generic term. Yeah, green card is a generic term. It just means permanent residency. Legally admitted permanent resident card. That's what it means. Those can be revoked, by the way. Did you know that? Your permanent residency is not permanent. It's not guaranteed for life. That you can be revoked. You commit crimes, you can be removed. The scumbag who's pro-Hamas, preaching anti-Semitism, Columbia's campus, he had a permanent residence. He was going to be deported, but the courts intervened. But you can be deported. What's this? Thanks a lot, says Fisher Grube, for all the hard work and dedication. I'm in Australia, but grew up in South Africa and Zimbabwe, so nice that you're helping the state. Well, hey, thanks, Fisher Group. Whereabouts in Australia? Whereabouts down under? Are you up north in Darwin, out west in Perth, down south in Melbourne, on the Gold Coast, Tasmania? Where are you down under? If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to, Fisher Group. Just curious. Watch all your videos. Can I bring my hamster? Maddie, you cannot bring your hamster. No, Demure is short for Rebecca De Mornay. No, very good at answering questions. Thank you, Crescent Glow. Where can I go and read up on all that you have covered to date? Read up on it. I haven't written anything. That's a dangerous path. You can go to indabaafrica.substack.com. indabaafrica.substack.com. On that page, please become a subscriber. It's free. I don't charge people for access to that. On the upper left-hand side, that helps my channel grow. There is an article that lists refugee videos. It has background investigations, it has the process, it has finance resources, it has dispelling myths and rumors about the program, all sorts of things. So there's like 50 videos on there. I think that if you were able to gain regular info about the refugee program for the USA, you would increase your likes and subscribers. People need hope. Gain regular information about the refugee program. What do you mean gain regular information, Diane? You're going to have to be more specific about that. I mean, I give information every day about the refugee program. What do you mean gain information? Are you saying if the U.S. government was funneling me information? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, the police thing is a whole can of worms. That's going to get bad. Tammy Bruce is going to be boring. We're not going to watch that. Eric, I know you're concerned about my health. I'm just saying that you're telling people to be patient, but then you're always double checking as if I'm not reading your stuff. Last time I saw a dentist, said my teeth were worn. I think it was from gnawing on macadamias. Ouch, Karen, that's terrible. Well, what's up with that cough? No, that's just new. The cough I had from South Africa took about 6 weeks. It's gone now. This is different. Just some congestion. I would love to see how all the bumhurt people deal with 100,000 people asking the same question. Exactly, Sync Master, exactly. Instead of like people run their mouths and lie about, he's been lying about everything since February. I haven't lied about anything. And anyone who makes that claim is a bold-faced liar. Sadly, that's majority. Okay. Jody Vandervalt says, what rugby game on the weekend are you most looking forward to? The Springboks. Well, let's take a look at that. In fact, now that you mentioned, let me go to Super Brew and see what other games interest me this weekend. Well, the France-New Zealand game, I didn't watch it last week because I was knackered. Let me see. We got Japan-Wales. I can't watch that. New Zealand-France, that game interested me. Italy-South Africa. Portugal-Ireland should be interesting. Ireland to win, but Portugal is an interesting team. I love watching them. They were fantastic in the World Cup. My disappointment is I didn't get to go to any Portugal games. I did get a jersey, though, because when it came out, I ordered it. One of the prettiest World Cup jerseys was Portugal's. Yep. Uruguay, Romania, Argentina, England, Canada, Belgium, USA, Spain. South Africa, that's the one. That's the one that's most interesting to me. But I didn't have a good week last week. I picked Argentina at home, and they got slaughtered. I was very disappointed in Argentina, so I got that wrong completely. I wanted to pick Chile. I thought in Chile they could beat Romania, but I figured they'd let me down, and I went against my better judgment, and they killed Romania 40-16. And Japan, Wales sucks. Wales sucks. They lost to Japan. Japan is a team I like, but since the World Cup in 2019, they've been crap. They've not been very good. And so I got 5 correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct. And actually, I got 3 bonus points. I picked New Zealand by 7. I got a bonus point. I picked South Africa by 20. I got a bonus point. I picked Australia by 7. I got a bonus point. But Australia barely beat Fiji. That either says Fiji is very strong or Australia still sucks. Yep, that's the game I'm looking forward to. South Africa. We should do a meet and greet in the USA for all the refugees. Well, Belinda, it's a huge ass country. Where do you want to do a meet and greet? The floods in Texas are bad. That's correct. So the rain I'm getting here most likely is coming from that tropical depression Chantel that came up in South Carolina and North Carolina a few days ago. That's probably what this is. I didn't look, but I'm suspecting it's. Sounds sick. Your body needs rest. No, Lewis Hens, I'm fine. Noted the title. I have no idea what you're saying, Mr. and Miss Smith. What else we got here? The banks are quick, even though you got your passport by applying at the bank. Well, that's the next one we can do. Let's see how many. Can we get some more votes in this poll? All right, so 97% of you have not gotten an interview. So assuming people are telling the truth, that means that about 12 of you that are in the audience right now have gotten an interview or got an appointment. That's a very low rate. Can we get that to 400 votes? 386. Brisbane. Okay, cool. Thank you. Wow, Fisher, that's a long time ago. Ian Moore hasn't heard anything. Ian Moon. I keep saying Moore. It is Moore. Why do I say Moon? Read there was Hamas officials giving lectures at the University of Cape Town last year. That is true, to my knowledge. I remember that story. Yeah, I'm not doing the Tamir Bruce thing. We already did Trump and it was boring. Can the hubby work in the USA while we wait for interview? He already applied for statement of interest. How will this work? Well, Louisa Stoltz, you're asking me questions with all kinds of gaps in there. What do you mean can he work in America? Does he have a permanent residency here? Does he have an H-2A visa to work here? How can I possibly answer your question? I presume that maybe he's got an H-2A visa. He's working here on a farm. Is that what you're getting at? And can he work there while you apply? Of course he can. He's going to have to go back to South Africa, though, to do the interview, most likely. Alan's out of here. Okay. Wild Mountain accidentally click yes on the poll. How do you accidentally click yes? All right, so it's holding steady at 3%. Okay, so 409 votes. All right, now let's do the passport thing. Okay, let's do this now. All right, I'm going to do the passport thing, okay? Because I'm curious about that. That was a good poll question. So this should be interesting, but it ought to mirror the interest in the program. It'll be less maybe, but it ought to mirror it. So let's do a poll. Have you... Okay. How can it not figure out that the spell check sucks? Okay. Have you applied for a passport from South Africa since February 7th? South Africa, Australia's many. Yeah, no, Fisher, I know. Australia is not the place to go. New Zealand is not the place to go. New Zealand went first, then Australia, then Ireland, then the UK. They're gone. Yep. I think Elon Musk has citizenship, Ludwig Hoyer. I don't think he has a green card. I think he has citizenship. I think he got citizenship time ago. Lothian Gianni, welcome to you. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. Too many rules, business being killed, small business, crazy unionization. Yep, exactly. Uri Bizmenov warned you, okay? The new lady that started at the American Embassy in Durban is Rebecca Gonzalez. There's no American Embassy in Durban, so that's fake news. No embassy in Durban. And why are you sharing and outing people's names? You shouldn't do that. I didn't know what you were saying until after I read it there. You shouldn't be doing that, Wolf the Blind Biker. That's not right. When did you do that at? 1:45. Please do not disclose the names of people who work in diplomatic missions, unless it's the ambassador or deputy chief of mission or something like that. Okay, and there's no embassy in Durban. There's a consulate in Durban. Taking farms crap happened in early 2000 Zimbabwe that pulled the country down. Mugabe told us whites to leave. Yeah, I know. I was involved. I was there the whole time covering it in the intelligence community and traveling in Zimbabwe when they were murdering farmers and farm workers. Yep, I was there in 2000 when that was happening. TV to Namibia. Hey, welcome to you. Myself and partner both submitted interest and we both applied for passports. Congratulations, Rihanna. That's pretty cool. Did my son's passport today. Mine and my daughter's passports are still valid. Okay, Nicolette. So family needs nightmare to get an appointment. Yep. Okay, for all those waiting to take the time to declutter, check what necessities you can fit in 2 bags. Yeah, it's a good idea to do that. It's always a good idea to do that. Clean up and declutter. I need to declutter. I've got to get rid of some stuff around here for sure. Passport for a long time, says Lee. Okay. Caitlin says my current passport's my 3rd one already. Well, if I include my 5 diplomatic passports, I think it was 5 or 6, my 8 or 10 official passports, and my tourist passport. I've had a tourist passport since 1985, so 40 years now. So I've had more than 4 though because they were canceled by mistake a couple of times by the government. While they gave me an official passport, they canceled my tourism. So I probably had 5 of those, 6 of those. Yep. Always keep a valid passport. Okay? Yep. Always keep a valid passport. It's on Google. Yes, Wolf the Blind Biker. It may be on Google, but don't share it in a group. People, let them go do the research on it. Okay? That doesn't. Okay? Awe Burger. Everything, Mr. Chris from Benoni. No, I'm just being protective of embassy employees, Wolf. That's all. I'm just asking you not to share it. And I read it. I didn't realize it was there. Okay. You can tell somebody in private. It's not a state secret. Someone asks you that question, but I'm just asking not because these things stay there. The chat stays. Unless it gets deleted, it stays. And when people watch it, if it replays the chat, it comes up there. So, got ours in April, says Stian. Okay. How active are First Peoples groups in the U.S.? There's no such thing as First Peoples groups. We don't buy into that bullshit. We don't have that. Don't have any such thing as First Peoples. That's a fairy tale. There are no First Peoples. That's racist bullshit. That's what that is. There's no First Peoples. Nobody is where they started. Not a single ethnic group comes from where they are. They all came there from someone else. They all developed in the ethnic groups from someone else. There were no Bantus. There were no Europeans. There were no Khoi, no San in South Africa 100,000 years ago. They weren't there. We have no remains of any of these people. None. None. We have none. Because it didn't exist. There's no such thing as indigenous. That's a fairy tale. That's made up racist bullshit. Am I offline? Okay. Did the little bit of rain knock me off? Gee, many crickets. Nope, I'm online. It's just YouTube is being difficult. YouTube is being difficult. Data currently not available. Okay. All right. So actually, I'm surprised. Only about 50% of the people have actually put in for a passport so far. I've gone through 6 passports, 2 yellow books, and 4 Panama Siemens books in the last 40 years. Alan. No, it's okay, Wolf. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just being overly sensitive. That's all. I'm being overly sensitive. Just trying to protect people, okay? That's all. Ian says there's Ian Moon. It says we all came from the Garden of Eden. I didn't come from the Garden of Eden. I got my passport in 10 days from Ned Bank, and yes, U.S. student loan for a previous question. So, Simon, your question, if I understand it then for the previous question, is that you can't be deported for being a refugee or lose refugee status if you owe a student loan? I don't think that's true. Your student loan debt doesn't override your right to stay in the country or your lack of a right to stay in the country. Exactly. Indigenous, did they sprout from the ground? No. Yep. Where are we to get your correct email address? Well, Elephant in the Room. It's shared repeatedly on this channel, and it was shared earlier. You must have missed it. You can find it on the About tab for this channel. But I can, if one of my mods can post it real quick. Hang on a second here. one of my mods. If they don't get it, I've got it. So, okay, here we go. There you go. And please don't be writing me emails asking me, okay, well, can I take my pets? I'm getting that too. Yep. Okay. Also, here's another thing. I keep getting things from people. Oh, this is urgent, urgent, urgent. Things are not urgent. Look, I get it. Things that affect our life directly, we feel are urgent. But things aren't always urgent. They aren't always urgent. Just because you think it's urgent doesn't mean it's urgent, okay? Well, I don't know what's going on with Tiger. The chat usually is there for most people. So occasionally it's not there, but that's a YouTube thing. It's set to be there all the time. So Bill Cooper's discussed this in terms of U.S. Either you're an American or you're not. You're something exactly. Charles, not a lot of people have passports in South Africa. I was shocked at how few people have passports. A lot of people in South Africa don't go any further than the next dorp. Yep. Ronald Mayer, what's going on? Only applied for my baby girl's passport, says Red John. Candido Oberholzer, no need to get a passport if you have a valid one. That's true. That's true. Awesome news because it seems to be entertained everywhere. First Peoples, in my opinion, was Adam and Eve. Yeah, there's no such thing. It's like First Nations in Canada. They're not First Nations. They weren't there first. The people that were there first are dead and gone. Those communities came 20,000 plus years ago and extinct. They were replaced by a second wave of people who came 18,000 years. They're extinct. They were replaced by a third wave of people who came around 10, 12,000 years ago. And the people in Canada might be descended from those people. DNA, linguistics, archaeology, all of it proves this. I don't even know who Bill Cooper is. He spelled out the uniqueness of the U.S. Constitution and what it means for individual rights. So have I, over and over again. You only get booking for passports in August. Well, August is around the corner. Mad Max hasn't had a passport since 24. The only urgent email Colonel appreciate is the new bribe, Roy Key recipe. See, James is 42, never been to Cape Town, and he lives in Somerset West. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I've never been to Benoni, and I live in Joburg. Well, that's understandable. No passport application. Okay. True, I've not left my city in 13 years. There you go, Siamarencia. And where have I been? In the past 13 years. Today is 2025. So 2012, where have I lived? Let's see. 2012, I was living in Germany, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Germany, Pennsylvania. I've lived in those 7 places in those years. I have been to all those places plus dozens more countries. Wish that we could have some numbers of how many have left already. Well, we do, Zach Koch. Over 100. But that's all we have. You would say 30% of passports. Really? I wouldn't buy that for a second. Jordash Ellis. You have a valid visa for the U.S. Ooh. Well, Nola, you were ahead of the curve. And Just Ainter says, I'm from Benoni. Hey, today somebody mentioned me in Benoni. Well, you've been living from hand to mouth your entire life, Gordon. Yeah, Native American reservations, yeah, they're there, but there's no such thing as First Nations. It's just racist bullshit that's created by sociologists and leftists to divide people. Every human community came from somewhere else. Nobody is unique to where they came from. Nobody. The Khoi, they weren't there. They didn't exist. The San, they didn't exist. They came there, or they developed there from someone else. How do we heal our continent? Well, you put me in charge, Myas. You put me in charge. Can I meet greet on your lawn? Nope. No meet greet on my lawn. Who wants to go Benoni except for Charlize Theron? I've been to Portugal. I've been to Portugal. Let's see where I've been in Europe. Let's do the map. Streamlabs. Nicest place I've been to is Lang Quai. Where's that? Is that in? Somebody told me that. Where's that at? Okay, let's go to Europe. Okay, I have been to Norway, Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, it's already 17, Portugal 18, Italy 19, Switzerland, Austria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Croatia, Bosnia, Romania, Greece, San Marino, Liechtenstein, the Vatican. What's that, 24 countries in Europe alone. In Africa, I've been to Morocco, Tunisia, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Niger, Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Eswatini, Lesotho. Djibouti. I think I missed Djibouti there. Somebody loves Benoni. I'm glad you love it. That's cool. Yeah. Steve Hofmeyer mentioned, what did he say, Greta? What did Steve say? Tell me what Steve said in his Monday podcast, please, Greta. Don't leave me hanging there. I've been in Mauritius and New Zealand. Oh, I've been to New Zealand. I've been to New Zealand, Australia, Japan. Forgot to mention those. And Mexico and Cayman Islands and Jamaica and Canada. Yeah, been all those places too. I've been to Benoni, yes. It's on your end, Tom. Is Everett, PA? I have no idea where Everett, PA is. I know where Everett, Washington is. I've been to Swaziland. Chris, have you been to the Maldives, Comoros, Seychelles, and Zanzibar? I've been to Zanzibar. I've not been to the Maldives, Comoros, or Seychelles. Those are beach places. I don't care for the beach. What's your favorite place you've stayed? Well, it's time dependent, Steve. I always say that. Everything's time dependent. Well, Steve is a really good guy, but I mean, what did he say today? Yeah, Loretta, be quicker to mention countries I haven't been to. Collecting my passport 25th this month, and I want to apply for the state of interest. Wow, I've only been to Swaziland. Most beautiful place I've been to is Limbe Beach in Cameroon. Really? Okay. Brockpan. I've been to Brockpan, yes. Zimbabwe, Mozambique. Without a passport, says Neil. Shh. I've never been overseas. This refugee program is like the promised rapture. It's written, made known in black and white, but no one but the Father in heaven knows when it will happen. So the passport thing is 50-50. So Louis Hen says, wow. Somebody said, Wild Mountain says, Putin left a conference early because he says Trump hates people being late. I guess you're going to get the memo. Yeah. Dubai? Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Saudi Arabia, Israel, Kuwait, Iraq. Yeah, I've been all those too. Ghana, okay. Well, thanks for the stream. Okay, take care, El Marie. You didn't tell me what's... Oh, there. He said you were inaccurate in your... Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Greta. Thank you very much. Yeah, Sync Master, it's quite a bit. Okay, guys, it's 2 hours. We should wrap it up here. Any requests on a song? We got Jellyfish Sway. We've got Save South Africa. We've got the Meet and Greet Vibes. We've got the latest one for South Africa. What do you guys want? The bunny song. You got the bunny song. Okay. Rusta, bugger off bunny. Okay. Jellyfish Sway. Can't cancel all of it. No, I get copyright for that. Say who the indigenous people are of an area. Before the Maori arrived in New Zealand, there were white people the Maori called fairies. Can use the fact that my mother, British citizen, get her passport. Okay, Richard. No, I covered the Ramaphosa response letter in the news program earlier, and I've made a video about it, which has been published now and has a few thousand views. I haven't put a thumbnail on it. I have to put a thumbnail on it. 3,000 views. So, yeah. Been many places for the last few years, but I'm only going to Italy, okay? busy training my billion-old survivor alligator. All right, let's go for the bugger off bunny.
Yeah, go on by, say whatever. Hop to the left, bunny's on the scene. Fur so clean, move sharp, he's mean. Eyes like fire, trolls start to quake. Mess with the bunny, big mistake. Bugger off, bunny, protector of peace. Jump into the chaos, never on a leash. Trolls come lurking, but they can't pretend. The bunny's here and it's the bitter end. Bugger off, bunny, protector of peace. Jump into the chaos, never on a leash. Trolls come lurking, but they can't pretend. The bunny's here and it's the bitter end. Connell's right hand and ear standing tall. One thumb from the foot sends them through the wall. Carrots in the pocket, wisdom in his paw. Trolls see the bunny, drop their jaw. Bounce, 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 the rhythm don't stop. Trolls try to climb but the bunny's on top. Guarded the guardian, defender of the land. The bugger off bunny with the master plan.
Yeah, man.
Bugger off bunny.
Jamaica version, Kingston version of the bugger off bunny. Yeah, man.
Jumping through the chaos, never on a leash. Trolls come lurking, but they can't pretend. The bunny's here and it's the bitter end. Swift as a shadow, silent in the night. Trolls meet the bunny, then they take flight. Ears like antennas, catching every sound. The bugger off bunny, king of the ground.
Yeah, man, the Kingston version of the bugger off bunny. Yeah, there's my right hand man, the bugger off bunny. The bugger off bunny. There was a serious question asked here a few minutes ago, and I don't want to dismiss it. Maya Strauss said, we need a solution. How do we proceed from here? Maya Strauss, I've given South Africa solutions for 5 years. I've been ignored. I've been belittled. I've been assaulted. I've been accused of lots of things. That's the conversation for longer depth. The only solution is to get rid of the racist legislation at this point. There were chances. You could even have gotten away with still having racist legislation, but now there isn't one. And for people who didn't listen to me in 2021, when I exhorted and prayed and begged for people to go vote, and you all sat at home, probably not people in this audience, but a lot of people sat at home and didn't vote. Oh, what am I voting? But black people always vote for it. No, this is a mess of your own making. You had a chance to fix this crap in 2021 and again in 2024, and it wasn't fixed. It wasn't fixed. All right, jellyfish sway.
Blue lights flash, they're out of sync. Promises fade, gone in a blink. Wrong place, wrong time. What's the plan? Spinning words, but
Jocelyn Smith was cut up for Moody. She's gone.
Oh, jellyfish sway. Ooh, yeah. Floating promises drift away. South Africans cry. Dismay, dismay. Dance through the night, we'll find our way.
No, that's the weak excuse, Neil. Weak excuse. That shows a misunderstanding of South African society. It's not that simple. No, I haven't, Miguel. When am I supposed to do it? People sat around and watched this thing deteriorate for 20-some years. You voted, Leo, but 69% of South Africans didn't vote. Were eligible. Well, that's messed up, Helen.
Empty words, a hollow glow. Where's the change they used to show? Protests rise, but miss the mark. In the shadows, it's cold and dark. Oh, jellyfish sway.
inspired by woodpeckers from space.